Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome aboard the Ethical Scaling Podcast, your go-to destination for navigating the wild world of online business with integrity and fulfillment. Jay and Ben are going to be your trusty guides, and they're thrilled to have you join us on this epic journey. In this season, we're going to have a lot of fun connecting and chatting with some of the OGs in the online business space, giving you all their stories, the breakthroughs, the playbooks for success, and some unexpected gold nuggets. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your favorite spot, and get ready to dive deep into the art and science of ethical scaling.
Welcome to the season 3 of the Ethical Scaling Podcast. In this season, it's all about the masters in the game. And I'm so lucky to have Steven Diaz with me today. He is the biggest brain, I would say, behind the Rainmaker Family. And I'm super excited to dive deep and know more about your journey, your process, some of your accomplishments. Steven, thank you for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me, Jay. Excited to be here. Bright and early for me recording this one. And I don't know. I wouldn't call my brain that big when I'm sitting next to you. So when we get in the room, it's just, yeah, man, it's fun. What you guys have created is fun working with you guys, and happy to be on the show.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm going to start with one quote from you that I think it's brilliant. It's going to unlock a lot of our conversations today, and I'm going to read it to make sure I don't miss anything. But one of the things I heard you saying, stop asking money for permission to fulfill your calling. And I love that because I think it aligns so well with what you guys do and what you guys stand for and how to think about money, faith, purpose. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that as a good starting point for our conversation today?
Yeah, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs are chasing money, right? But really what's behind the money is often something else. And, we hear words like financial freedom and all these things, but in sales, when you really dig into like, oh, I want financial freedom, oftentimes there's some other thing behind that. And it can be a lot closer than people think. And I think that quote came from a mentor in my life. And I remember in that season, before we were in the online marketing, online business space, my wife and I owned a photography business. So just like we would be the ones with the cameras, just shooting weddings, and that's a very seasonal business, right? Like it's like, you got your high season, you got your low season. And by low season, it means no season. Like there's like just crickets during the winter, at least where we lived. And there was one particular year where the money got really tight. We were just, that was our only income, was this wedding business, and we weren't really planning. And, you could just watch the bank account going down and down and down, and there's no new clients coming in, no new bookings. And I think I remember back to this moment because it was really the moment I feel like we started to break what I call the power of money over our lives. Because I think people give money a little bit too much permission. They give it a little bit too much authority, a little too much control in their life. And in that season, I remember, the weight of kind of the bank account, and just like, oh my gosh. And like, I'm speaking to this, like there might be some people listening that are in that season right now, but it even might be a higher level, right? And like it might be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's your, like, now you have a huge overhead with your business and you're feeling that scarcity, but you can just kind of feel that tension in your shoulders. And we just honestly started to kind of act out in ways that we didn't like, right? Like kind of scarcity ways, like emailing people kind of a little bit desperately, like wedding coordinators, like, hey, do you have any brides for us? Like just kind of doing things that were just like felt like they're driven by this scarcity. And in that season, me and Chelsea sat down on the couch, my wife and I, and we had this talk about this thing. I was like, man, we don't love how we're showing up and how the number in the bank account is really affecting how we're showing up. And so we made a decision in that moment to basically stop asking money permission, right? And one of the things that me and Chelsea feel like is a calling in our life is being generous. And in that season, we had just stopped the generosity because it was just like, okay, there's not much left. But we had this moment. We went to the bank, went to the ATM, and we basically pulled out all the money from the bank account. There was just a little bit left, and we gave it away. We decided to give it away. And I believe in that moment, we really broke that power of money, right? Broke the power of like, hey, you need to check with me before you do what you're want to do, before you do what you're called to. And it was like such a scary moment, like kind of pulling out the money, but then such a freeing moment giving it away. And I really believe when you kind of let money flow through you, right, it comes to you. And that was the beginning of financial freedom for us, even in the small. And we've had that test, like I call it a test, because I think those type of things kind of knock on your door every once in a while at different levels, like at $500, at 5,000, at 50,000, at 500,000, and I believe every test you pass, there's a promotion, right? And it's like, hey, you could be trusted with more. Like there's going to be more for you. So that's the origin story of that quote. And we've lived that out, over the years. Whenever we feel like money's kind of knocking on the door again, saying, "Hey, you're gonna be scared. You're gonna ask me permission to do something that is this calling on your life." We're like, "No, we're gonna be who we are, and you're gonna obey us, money."
I'm a true believer that anything in life, we're going to go through a mastery process. And I think money as well, you need to master it by embracing. And I love that you guys are so generous, and generosity is a core value for you guys. And it's interesting to understand that people think that everything is going to be a linear upwards trajectory. And some of the times those callings and those opportunities are in front of you, knocking on your door, but you're so focused on the next thing that you don't even take the necessary time to master the journey and the phase of the journey you're at now. And it's so interesting because you talk about something that I think it was very interesting to hear, which was your previous business. You guys were wedding photographers. It's a very tough business, a lot of seasonality. It actually led to some kind of burnout, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was what we call level one income, right? Where you're the person doing the thing. And when you're the person doing the thing, like you use your hands for the job, you're always going to be limited by your time. So we hit that ceiling pretty quick. We took on, I think it was 43 weddings in a season. And so it was like 8 weddings in May, it was like back to back Friday, Saturday, driving 3 hours in between weddings, charging batteries, staying up late. And that was like, okay, this is it. This is like the ceiling of this job, yes, there's ways to scale wedding businesses, but for us in that current mindset, it was like, we have to be the people doing the thing. And we just hit the ceiling, and, it really started to burn us out. We're doing all the editing and traveling and all the things. And that's really what put us on this journey of like searching for something else.
And what was the transition moment when you guys started testing Amazon selling? And I think I heard the story that you guys were selling more than 500 fidget toys a day. Is that correct? And did you still have the wedding business, the wedding photography business at that time?
Yeah. So as soon as we kind of went through that burnout season, we did start learning about, level 2 income, which is now managing people who do the thing. So I started to hire editors to edit the wedding videos, which is a huge time saver. And that with my free time, then I was able to start dabbling, right? And I kind of bought every program, did every webinar, like every side hustle that you could try. I was just doing it all. So Amazon was one of those, side hustles that we got into, selling physical products. And I was selling at the time. Usually I have one. Oh, I do have one on my desk. I was selling these guys. If you're watching the video, these is a Japanese like skill toy. It's called a kendama. And if you're not watching the video, it's like one of those ball and cup toys where you try to catch the ball in the cup. So Chelsea got me one of these for Christmas, and classic entrepreneur Steven is like, how can I make a business out of this? Right. Like, so I was playing with this thing, and then I was like, dang, this would be a fun business to run, e-commerce. And that's what got us into selling physical products. And this was 2017, the year of the fidget spinner. Right. And so the fidget spinner kind of blew up on the internet. And subsequently, our toy blew up because it was kind of like a fidgety toy, and just, started selling like crazy. And that's what we caught the bug of like, okay, there's something here. This feels like miraculous how just like this thing made this thing sell, but we wanted to reverse engineer and figure it out. So that's what put us down the Amazon pathway. But yeah, we're still shooting weddings during this time. And I think our breakthrough moment was for Chelsea, because I was kind of more the dabbler at night. Like after the wedding business, I'd kind of be like doing crazy stuff on the internet while she's watching Netflix. And she's just like, okay, babe, like I trust you, whatever. But I don't think thought anything of it. But the moment for her, she says, was the aha moment was at a wedding. You get like one break during the day, and it's at dinner time. It's like 10-minute break. You just scarf your food down, then you go back to shooting, right? But during that 10 minutes, you might check your phone. And during that particular wedding, I showed her my phone, and the Amazon business had made more that day than we had at the wedding. And she was like, whoa, okay, that was it. Like we got to figure this out. We got to go more
With
into
much
this.
less work. With much less
Yes.
work. Well, I mean, there was a lot of
Yes,
investment on your end to crack the code and get things running, but it's interesting
totally.
when you understand that value and labor are not necessarily the same thing. And that's why you mentioned like the level one and level two being very different because it's leveraged. But there
Yeah.
is another transition moment. Like you go from doing wedding photography to selling fidget toys to then
Yeah.
cracking the code and being able to help other people to do the same. Like, tell us a little bit more about that second transition.
Yeah. I mean, once it started to really break through for us, naturally we just started telling all of our friends and family. It was just kind of like, guys, like this thing's awesome. You should try it. Like we taught my mom how to do it. We, of course, went to our industry peers first, like our wedding people, because it was like off season at this point. Now we weren't like in that scarcity season of like, oh, we got to get that next client. We were being a little more picky with the weddings we were taking on. And so I just started telling all our wedding friends, like, hey, there's this thing, you guys should check it out, like passive income, And honestly, not a lot of people listened, like I created a Facebook group. I was training
Sounds too good to
people.
be true.
Yeah,
Sounds too
like
good to be true.
I was just doing it for free, like just in a Facebook group. Cause honestly, for me, teaching it really forced me to master it.
Mhm.
But there was a couple of people that listened. There was Sharon and there was my mom,
Mhm.
and my mom launched a couple of products, and then Sharon went on to build like a 7-figure Amazon business. And it was in that season I read Expert Secrets, Russell
Mhm.
Brunson. And then I was like, oh, like I had been buying so many things like webinar, like I've been buying so many programs off webinars. When I read that book, I was like, this is this is the script that everyone's been using on
Mhm.
all these webinars. Like it just was like the light bulbs went off. And so we ran a webinar, like because I was doing this for free at this point. So ran a webinar, and that first webinar did 60,000 in sales. Like, and for us as like wedding photographers, just imagine this. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
man, we would work half the season for $60,000. Like, me and Chelsea were running around the house, just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I think we were still on a 2K program at the time, and it was like I took on 30 students, and that was it. That was the beginning of the Rainmaker family, which is now what we're fully doing. Little did we know how big that could be, in that season. Really, it was just like, hey, let's help our friends. And those first buyers were mostly friends, family, friends of friends, kind of our warm market. But we had to go on a long journey to figure out how to get that in front of strangers.
Mhm. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like super niche down at that time, right? I know that you
No.
guys now
Yeah.
have like a theme, which is make mama bears millionaires.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that time still wasn't the thing, right?
Yeah, it was kind of anyone who wanted to listen, who wants to make money, right? Which
Mhm.
any marketer listening knows that's a mistake. Like if your product's for everyone, it's for nobody,
Mhm.
right? It's for no one. And so we had no niche. It was kind of for anyone, and it worked. But then, like I kind of hinted at it, we've been reading Russell Brunson. So we're like,
Mhm.
dang, he said we're one funnel away, right? Like
Mhm.
we're going to be millionaires. Then we make 60K in a weekend, on this thing. And then we're like, let's go scale this. But we had no idea that that was a warm market versus a cold market. So we hire a Facebook agency. We try to scale this thing, and we just basically burn the whole $60,000 just trying to figure it out, because we didn't have a niche. We didn't have a focus. We didn't have that great of an offer, and so we really learned the hard way, by just not knowing and kind of just going into it
Mhm.
and then stumbling through it and getting better and better and better over time.
And was there a time when you guys were trying to scale? Because you got validation. You went to the market, and I know it was a warm market, but the market validated. It might be based on borrowed trust. I know that was a key factor when you first launched the offer. But after that, was there any breaking point? Like you started getting some traction, you were running ads, you kind of cracking acquisition. I think challenges for you guys was a big thing and probably still is. Was there a moment where you guys felt like this is going to break apart? We're becoming so successful that I feel like something might happen, or maybe it did happen, that almost make you guys break the whole business?
Oh man, many times. So many times. Um, yeah, like so that first pivot was we were running webinars. Like I said, we kind of like joined some programs with the 60K, joined some mentorships, and then spent the rest on Facebook ads in an agency, and really just like did nothing. And then this agency didn't really know what they're doing. They got banned off the platform. Like there's like levels of Facebook bans, and I'm like the highest banned. So like we still run ads to this day from Chelsea's account because my account is like totally locked down because like this agency just like had a junior media buyer, and they just, I don't know, they did some, they were saying stuff you're not supposed to say basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that moment was kind of like, oh snap. And then I kind of just wallowed around, you know. Now in Rainmakers, something we teach that I had to learn was the how can I mindset, right? Like we never say I can't, but in that season I was just, I can't in it. I was just like, dang, my Facebook account's down. I can't do this. Like there's no way, like how am I going to reach people? But really that shift to how can I started to unlock things for me. So I actually started studying the Facebook policies and started running ads myself, you know, and really learning it. And then met Pedro Adeo, who's a mentor of ours. And he was like, yo, you got to do challenges, you know? And at that time we were doing webinars. And he also was the guy that helped us niche the business down and kind of go, who's this really for? Like who's really winning with it? What are your best case studies? And it was moms at the time. So we niched it down to serving moms only. And then I was running the ads, and then we are doing challenges. And that was really the breakout kind of model where it took us from, you know, 6 figures to multi-7 in 1 year off of basically 3 or 4 challenges we just ran. Pretty incredible.
Did you feel like personally an evolution, and did you change during that process from like, I have a wedding photography business, then I'm just trying something new, so I just launch a new offer, now I crack the code, I know how to run paid media and challenges and start selling people, I go from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures? Was there a change from how you look at your business as a CEO as well? Like, because you guys are super sweet, and that can be challenging at times when you're running a business where you have like multiple people from marketing, sales, fulfillment, financial department, operations. What was like the big shift that happened internally?
Yeah. Man, I feel like sweetness, like me and Chelsea are very sweet, and that'll get you to like 7 figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to go to 8, like you got to have a little sternness. And I actually had a season where I was having all these like dreams. I always like pay attention to my dreams. I feel like there's some cool insights there. And I was having all these dreams about like candy, and I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like climbing candy up to like a higher level. Like I'd be like climbing a candy rope or whatever. And then like in real life, like I was like eating, I don't know, some Swedish fish or something. And I had like I don't know, some old crown or something that basically like broke off. Like it like
Whoa.
cracked or something when I was eating candy. And I went to the dentist, and I'm always paying attention to these. I call them life parables. I feel like, you know, God often speaks through these just kind of things if you pay attention to them. And I'm at the dentist, and they're like, hey, this, you know, the foundation's good, but you need a new crown here, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it kind of hit me that I needed to grow in my authority, the crown, right? In being stern. I was being really sweet in a lot of the areas of our business, and that got me to a certain level, but we needed another level of sternness and, like, you know, fierce negotiation and kind of the Papa Bear Steven to come out to really go to that next level. And, you know, I kind of talked about going from 6 to 7 figures. At that time, we had no systems, no anything. It was like our org chart was like me and Chelsea and like a bunch of coaches, and like
Mm-hmm.
everyone reported to us. So we were like the bottleneck. And so a piece of like scaling is definitely, one, releasing control, right? Getting the right leaders in place and releasing control. But 2, being stern. And you know, we had that challenge. We had it grow uh, really fast, and then we evergreened it, and that grew even faster. But then what happened is, like you said, it almost broke the business because now our overhead was growing. Now our ad cost was growing. And in 2023, top line did $20 million in the business. Bottom line, it was like zero because we
Mm-hmm.
were scaling too fast, and like basically all the money went back to fulfillment and costs and ads and all these things. And so that was like a really, real talk moment where I had to be really stern with some people, renegotiate some things. I had to trim the team. I had to like really look at the whole process and go like, you know, if we're really going to go the distance here, like we can't go any further with what we're doing now, or we're going to totally take out the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, scaling, releasing control, and then being stern.
Those are critical lessons, but you talked about in 2023 reaching that $20 million mark. And that's very impressive to most of our listeners, to me, probably to your old Steven version as well. Like, even for that version, thinking about 20 million as a business is probably impressive. Do you ever feel like there was a moment in your journey when you start making like a lot of money? Because that's a lot of money. You might not be taking a lot of profit, but it's a company and a business that can generate money that kind of blur your vision a little bit.
um, I think like that first year, like honestly, the first year we went from 6 to 7, we made the most money because it was just me and Chelsea, a nanny, and like a handful of coaches. There was not a lot of overhead, and it like if the business did well, like our people did well,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like I didn't have employees or anything. So we went from like, you know, some savings to having multi-millions of dollars in the bank in 1 year. That was weird, like, because like I think sometimes your identity takes a little bit to catch up
Mm-hmm.
to the reality of the situation. And we were still kind of coming out of scarcity
Mm-hmm.
mindset, and there's always levels to building that abundant mindset, but it was kind of like, dang, this came so fast. Could it go away so fast? Like, is this just going to go away? And so it took us a while. We actually didn't even tell anybody really that we were millionaires, And it was actually Pedro. Pedro outed us, like he's one of our mentors, and he would always have us on his challenges, and we'd be like kind of a case study. So he'd be like, "These guys are millionaires," and he'd just like tell the whole world. And so that helped us start getting comfortable with it and just being like, okay, like we can own this thing. This is really cool. Like this honestly feels miraculous. Let's talk about it. And but it took us a year or so to kind of catch up to that identity. And then really that kind of first test came again. Like, are you willing to kind of put the money on the line in the name of a mission or a calling? And we really do feel like strongly that there's something on moms for us that like when you empower moms, they create incredible multiplication in the world, basically. Like, you ask a room of moms, hey, if I give you $1 million, what would you do with it? Like 9 out of 10 of their answers will be about other people. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, like they're just so selfless, giving. So I'm like, let's make moms wealthy, and then they're just going to impact the world. They're going to raise world changers, and they're going to impact the world. And so we really felt that like we have something that can help moms. And so it kind of came to the point where like it was, again, now there's money in the bank. Are you willing to invest it? Like, are you willing to put it on the line again? And I often think, the thing you're trying to get, often you have to be willing to sacrifice it. And we had some moments there where, it was like, okay, now we're growing the business. Now we have overhead, and things are getting a little bit squeezed again. We're feeling that scarcity again. As soon as I feel that same feeling I felt back in the wedding days, I know it's time to like put money to work again.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had moments where we would put it all on the line, basically, again, like drain the bank account, put it all on ads for this challenge or for this initiative, or build this software to help our moms. And it's like kind of that risk taking, right? It's educated risk because we know these things have worked in the past, but we have had times where you put it all in and it doesn't, work. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you do then? Right. So I don't know. It's building that muscle of kind of faith over time that has really helped us continue to grow. And we're still very much in it, like just kind of every day, just like having faith to like let the money flow through us. And when we do that, it comes back to us.
And what were some of your bolder investments during that phase? Like you hit like seven figures, and a lot of people, that's their dream. I want to have a business that makes seven figures, but then you go from seven figures to 20 million. So that's eight figures, it's a completely different business. What were some of your bolder investments that, like the example you just gave, to put money on the line, being a little bit more risk tolerant, educated risk, like you said, but what were some of those investments?
Yeah, software for sure. Like we really felt like we were cobbling together a bunch of things. So we started investing pretty early in our own, fully kind of customized software. Now there's a lot of stuff out there. Like you can
Mhm.
do all the things we're doing, Circle and WAP and all these like, school like type platforms. But we basically built our own version of those. Which when you think about enterprise value, it's going to be really valuable to own all of our own technology. But we started that really early, and that was hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, just investing in that, kind of in this vision of like we're building something here, And even though it started small, that was a big one. And then there was just many times where honestly advertising, like was kind of felt like risking it all. And I would even do this in challenges, like because people, on some of the final days, we're about to like make an offer, and I would just show them the numbers. I'd be like, hey, some of you guys don't even believe in yourself, but I believe in you, and every single one of you in the room, it cost me $250 to get you here. And I would just show them like, we spent this much money to get you in the room to hear this message right now, knowing that, 90% of people wouldn't even get to this day.
Mhm.
And so like, we believe in you, even if you don't believe in you. And so it kind of is that, we don't believe often what we believe what we do. And if we say we really believe in moms, we really say that, um, we have an abundant mindset. We have to be willing to put money where our mouth is and act on it.
I want to make sure that our listeners get something actionable because I think you have been through a lot of learning, lot of experiences, a lot of hiccups throughout your personal journey. And there are four things you talk about specifically for the moms you guys serve, but I think it's going to be super applicable to almost anyone that is listening to the podcast. You guys talk about like how to empower moms. That's number one. How to help them scale with faith and vision, mindset mastery, and number four, building the right leadership and team for you guys as well to get to eight figures. Do you want to walk us through like some of those details and ideas and principles and habits and strategies for those four steps to scale it to eight figures properly?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, you're going to have to help me walk through them again because I should have written them
Let's
down.
number one, empowering moms. You guys talk about the
Yes.
three T's when you think about empowering moms. So helping them with
Yeah.
tech, time,
Leverage.
and traffic, basically how to leverage. And I think that concept alone is not just applicable to moms or to Amazon selling. It could be applicable to any business. Do you want to expand a little bit more on how people can
Yeah.
use that same principle when they're running their business?
Yeah, that really comes from, what I call the spaghetti season, where I was throwing everything against the wall, seeing what would stick with side hustles. The reason that one works so well with us, and I'm not saying Amazon's the only way to make money. There's so many ways to make money online. But if you want to run a business that doesn't steal all your time, you need leverage, right? Leverage is the ability to do more with less. And so we always look for different forms of leverage. There's technology leverage, right? AI right now, huge technology leverage, right? There's trust leverage, like partner with another platform, right, that already has trust. Like for us, that's Amazon. There's traffic leverage. Who already has customers, right? Who already has traffic flowing to them that you can literally just get in place of or in the way of. I remember like there was a business in our small town who was selling like Yeti knockoffs, like like Yeti coolers, and
Mm-hmm.
they were just selling like basically their own version of a Yeti cooler. And all they would do they would just run Google AdWords to like Yeti keywords. And so like there's already traffic here. We're just gonna get in the place of it. And they built like a 7-figure business literally just off of like someone else's traffic. I'm not saying that's like the best ethical scaling way to do
I
things,
mean, all
but
companies do that. Just think about search online for
that's true.
CRM on what regards to keywords. And CRM,
Yeah.
as an example, you see they're battling to see who's on the top. I know that Monday.com at the moment is outspending everyone for those
Wow.
keywords. Why? It's the same thing. They know if they're the first one ranking for Google searches, they're going to get the most amount of traffic and
Yeah.
the most amount of clients. But all of them were like competing for the word CRM. CRM is not even a software. Imagine if someone had a software called crm.com. If they
Yeah.
owned that domain, that would be absolutely crazy. So I think it's just being smart and
Yeah.
using existing desire and just find a way. Like that's marketing 101. Channel the existing desire to whatever you have to offer ethically. If you come from a place of abundance and taking care of your clients, I think it's a brilliant way to think about it.
Yeah. So we're always looking for that, like what's already working and how can we partner with that to not reinvent the wheel? Like if you're starting from scratch, like it's going to take you a lot longer to kind of prove that concept. But
Mm-hmm.
if something's already working and you can partner with that person or partner with that traffic or partner with that, that's leverage. And it can just get you ahead a lot faster. So we're always thinking about that first part when it comes to empowering you, to grow fast. Leverage is definitely that first factor to look for.
And number two, you talk about scaling with faith and vision. And I've seen a lot of businesses struggling because they reach a point they're actually scaling and they look at their business and they actually don't love the business they've built. And I don't believe the business should be the end goal. I do believe that the business is just a vehicle, like any other vehicle in life. But I would rather have a vehicle that I like than a vehicle that I don't like. I want to wake up excited about what I'm doing, which I do. Not everyone can say that. So, what would you say would be some cool ideas and strategies to make sure you scale without compromising on your faith and your vision and your values?
Yeah. I think, I had an idea, then it just left me. I think one thing that I think we're constantly doing is getting tested on that, right? And like, are you willing to kind of put your money where your mouth is? At least for us, that is what we feel really called to, is helping families break free financially. So of course, that's the giant or test that we're going to have to overcome in our own lives in different areas. If it's health or if it's relationships, whatever it is for you that you have breakthrough and that you're bringing to other people, oftentimes that's the kind of thing that you're going to have to continue to gain authority in so that you can impart it to others. I would say, I have seen that where people grow businesses that they kind of feel trapped in almost at some point. And so for me, I constantly come back to like um, almost like it's like the 10x is easier than 2x kind of
Mm-hmm.
idea. Was that Benjamin Hardy?
Benjamin
All
Hardy,
right.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So he wrote this book where it's just like, hey, let's look at like what's your best yes, basically, in the business. And so I constantly am doing that because for me, I'm very like ADHD. Like I love to just experiment, do new things. So it's hard for me to like do the same thing all the time. And I think the mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is like they go dabble with a bunch of things and they have like 7 businesses. But what I do is I just do all that experimentation within the business. So right now I love learning about, loving AI tools and development and all these things, but I'm not trying to build some other SaaS company. I'm like doing that within the current company. And so that allows it to continue growing while I still can like dabble and experiment. But for me to do that, it requires me to go, hey, how do I get out of what I'm currently doing? Which means hiring A players, raising up leaders, people you trust, and really looking at like, okay, if I had to like look at my whole entire work week and do an audit of my time, what are the things that are truly absolutely necessary that I do? And what are things other people can do? And so I constantly am doing that. I'm doing that actually right now in our business again. Like it's almost like every 6 months, I feel like I go through a thing where I'm like, okay, it's time to level up and level out of those things I was doing, get people in place. And that's what unlocks that next thing. And so that's how I stay kind of true to like, my wiring and not get into a situation where I feel like stuck and trapped and like, oh, I don't like waking up every day for my job.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to it because it's like I keep putting myself in a growth environment.
Mm-hmm. I think that's amazing. I think also because you guys do a lot of work around mindset. I think that's also very critical, and that's the point number 3 that I think would be useful for our audience as well. How do you master your mindset? Like for you as a business owner who scaled from nothing to 8 figures, but also how you help your clients that are building their own Amazon businesses, how to master the mindset. Because 99% of the time,
Mm.
what's the problem in front of them? It's going to be a mindset problem because you guys do believe that it's how can I and not that I can't. That's one thing that you guys stand for. And that's a mindset shift. It's like instead of being thinking that you cannot do it. And of course, you believe it, you're not going to do it. We know that because you just believe it, and all actions are belief driven. It's coming from a place of resourcefulness. So, how do you guys help yourself, your employees, and your clients to be more resourceful and to have the right mindset and master that mindset?
Honestly, reps, right? Like, you got to do reps. And I mean, this is science backed. Like, you don't just develop a new neural pathway in your brain overnight. Like, it takes reps, repetition. And so we in our community do something called Mindset Monday. Every Monday, we're doing like mindset reps. For our team, one little hack I learned in a mastermind, someone shared this. I was like, dang, that's good. I'm taking that. Is the 1-3-1, right? So the 1-3-1 is, hey, no one ever brings a problem without basically bringing one problem, 3 solutions, and 1 recommendation. And so this just trains into your culture of your team. And we even do this in our community too. Like, hey, can 1-3-1 this, you know? And we give all of our team permission to push back on someone. If they bring a problem, you can say, hey, can you 1-3-1 that and bring it back to me? And so what it does, it puts everyone in a little bit more of an extreme ownership kind of position. They are saying, hey, there's no problems without possibilities. They just start getting into that mindset where they're open. And then it's super cool because people go, hey, here's a problem. Here's 3 possible solutions. Here's my 1 recommendation. And you see how they think too. And you can coach them on how they think. And so this is where, I mean, like, we're in the e-commerce space right now as we're recording this. There's crazy tariff stuff going on. And most people are freaking out. But we're like, this is going to be the biggest opportunity for our community because we built the sourcing website for Mexico, and we're going to run ads to that thing, and we're going to provide all these resources for our community. And so we're like, don't see it as a problem. We see it as a crazy possibility, like crazy opportunity. And that's developed over time. Like, that doesn't just come. It's developed where you got to hit problem after problem, find possibilities, act on them, see the potential. And then when problems come up, you actually get excited about them. You're like, dang, this is awesome. Like, what a cool challenge we get to overcome together, you know? And that takes time though. It takes time.
And what about lessons and strategies around leadership and team? Like you said, when you did like multiple 6 figures, maybe 7 figures, it was like a very small team. You, Chelsea, coaches, and that's it. And it was extremely profitable, but not scalable to the point and impact you guys have envisioned. What were some of the changes and some of the strategies you guys have implemented for your team and leadership to scale to the next level?
Yeah. Getting the right people, right, in the right seats on the bus. So I think learning how to hire A players. I think we were in the room. I think Cole Gordon did a talk on that in the 8-figure boardroom. And that was so good because it was like, dang, okay, we can level up how we're hiring. Treating hiring almost more like a funnel where you're like putting as much effort into the job description as you would an advertisement, you know, for the business, and taking people through a funnel process, really making sure it's A players. Also referrals, recommendations from industry peers are super powerful. So once we started to hire really A players, as well as raise up the people that had the potential into these leadership roles, we, you know, I see a lot of businesses plateau in the 7-figure range. And they want to scale to 8, but often it's on people and systems. And so we started doing the EOS system, you know, the book Traction. So we started to have a specific style of meetings and scorecards. And that, as a founder who's like, when you grow the business, you're very scrappy, you do everything. It allows you to kind of release control to leaders, but also feel a little bit in control by looking at a scorecard and like getting weekly updates, right? So that's a key thing, systems. And then, I mean, you guys helped us honestly really save the business because remember in 2023, our costs were so high to fulfill on this product. Like it's probably to our demise. We're just a little too generous. And so we're giving people probably a $25,000 experience for, at the time, $6,000. We raised our price to 10 now, but at the time we were giving like one-on-one coaching at the $6,000 price point, group coaching, software, like everything. And our fulfillment was just draining the business, right? Because we're fulfilling on these promises, but we're just giving. And so you guys helped us really turn our fulfillment into a revenue driving department. And that was a game changer. Because then when, you know, ads were, you know, Facebook's feeling drunk that day and ads are not doing well, we're not just draining the bank account. We're actually able to serve our clients at a higher level and actually drive revenue doing that. So now, you know, working with you guys, we built a fulfillment department that is self-sustaining, basically pays for itself. And that was huge. So, and that was another tip from that. I think that same mastermind we were in, you spoke at that one, talked about this. And I was just like, light bulbs going off. I was like, this is the key. We need to make this shift to actually have a back end on this offer that it's kind of like, flying, right? Like it's like some people fly first class and some people don't. And so we just didn't have a first class in our business, but there's a percentage of people that will take a first class seat. And so we just didn't have those. So we were Southwest, and so we just added first class on the back end. A percentage of people take that and it pays for the rest of the plane, So that's kind of the analogy, but you guys helped us a ton with that.
Yeah, and I think that concept I talked about is the self-liquidating team member, which is not applicable to all parts of the business, but for the fulfillment side of it, we need to think about ways to how to make it a profit center, because there's still this lingering idea that client success and client delivery is a cost. And I don't stand for that, because I don't believe that's reality. And this is exactly what you just said. It can be a profit center, because again, if you have to fulfill and deliver to your clients, it's going to be the service to your client if you don't give them the opportunity to extend the extent to work with you for longer than the initial agreement. And again, if expectations are met, if they're well taken care of, if they feel seen and heard, and they love the environment and the community, there will be a big percentage of your clients that want to stick with you for the long term. And with you guys, they're getting a business in a box. Like, they're getting all the fundamentals, all the principles, all the shortcuts they need to launch their business. But like any business, like you've been talking about for this episode, will take its time. There will be things that they don't know. They will have to experience firsthand to understand the challenges, the hurdles, the hiccups, and they will need support and coaching on the mindset side of things as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, your mindset is going to trick you a lot of times. You're going to start thinking, this is not going to work. This is not for me. It's going to be pushing you to the path of least resistance. And that's the thing that I think it's so valuable when you offer your clients an opportunity to extend the work together. Indirectly, as a byproduct, we'll make it a profit center, but that's not the reason why we're doing it. We're doing it because we want to serve your clients, and as a byproduct, they want to stay with you for longer. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy for a great relationship long term, like any other great relationship.
It's so true. Yeah.
I have some rapid fire wisdom questions, like simple things that I think are going to be memorable for everyone that stick with us and has stuck with us so far in this episode. What was one key hire you've made that changed everything in your business?
All right, man, there's so many. I would say director of finance. I'm surprised we got so far as we did without someone really looking at the money. I think part of my strength is kind of a childlikeness. Hey, it's going to work out, like I just have faith, and it did, but at some point it was really nice to have someone actually looking at the dollars and going, oh, you know what? We should probably trim some things here. Right. Especially because we had those really tight years. That was a huge hire. And then, Jeff is our current chief revenue officer. He was just a friend, like he wasn't in the industry, didn't have crazy experience, but I pitched him the vision when he was kind of in a transition season. I was like, hey man, like I got this thing over here. We had the Evergreen Challenge going, but it was like working, but not profitable. And I was like, I see an opportunity over here that could be more profitable. Would you be able to build it? And he took that on. And Jay, he worked for like, I don't know, 6 to 9 months on that thing without making any money. Cause we had just a deal that was like, hey, you make money in this, I'll give you money from I'll give you a portion of that pie. But he worked like super hard for months with no pay because he caught the vision, and now makes great money, right? Because he caught that vision. He built the thing. He literally doubled our business in a year because that new thing, my vision was right. He was able to build it, and that thing just took off. So it was a whole nother customer acquisition strategy. So that was a major hire. And I think that's encouragement to your audience is like, you could just be one like A player hire. Like I'm talking about like superstar, right? We call these superstars. Superstars are people that like not just like maintain the role, but they're going to drive significant revenue in the business or growth in the business in some area. And those two guys, they're definitely superstar hires.
Lovely. And I know we talk a lot about mindset and abundance. What does abundance look like for you in action on a daily basis?
Yeah, abundance is the no lack lifestyle.
Hmm.
And I'm really big into this. I think I'm writing a book on it at some point. I have a bunch of notes, but I think when you focus on what you have, it'll multiply. But when you focus on what you don't have, it actually will dwindle. It'll get
Hmm.
taken away. And this is kind of the difference between something that takes you up and takes you out. And once you become sensitive to this, you'll start noticing lack language in a lot of things you do. I don't have the time. I can't do this. I'm not able to, blah, blah, blah. Right. Um, when you start shifting to abundance language, you'll see that things actually start to multiply. And I know it sounds a little woo woo and out there, but I've seen it. I've seen it come to fruition for money, for time. I stopped saying I don't have the time, a long
Hmm.
time ago. And now I have all the time I need for everything I'm doing, and it just came from a little bit of a language shift and starting to focus on what I had.
And what about you serve moms? What's a mompreneur story that you'll never forget?
Mompreneur story, man. There's a lot of stories in our community. So I mean, usually there's fresh ones. There's one story, semi fresh. This gal, I asked her to write a testimonial, on whatever Trustpilot or something, and she came back with like a 4-page essay. Like not she didn't post on Trustpilot because it was too long. But I was like, okay, I better read this, and I started reading this thing. I ended up sharing it with our whole team, our coaches, everything, because she was um, she was working a corporate job that she really felt undervalued, not seen. Like she would just come home drained. She had a young kid, and her mom was her hero. Her mom was the one who would just, hey, I'll watch the kids while you do this job, because like I'll help you make ends meet, basically. And during COVID, sadly, she lost her mom. Her mom got sick and passed away, and she was about to have her second baby at this point. So now she's like having her second baby. Now she's putting her kids in childcare, right? And she's like this person, her mom, who was really the cheerleader in her life, who would always go to her and be like, "You'll be CEO one day." Her mom was gone. So this thing gets ripped from her. Now she's putting kids in childcare. She's spiraling into, depression, postpartum depression, and going to this job she doesn't like. And then she finds Rainmakers, and we talk about mindset, and of course, like, we love to help people make money, but oftentimes sometimes the breakthrough comes in the mindset calls. And she said she would show up to the mindset calls, and it was like hearing her mom's voice again, and having, like, she had lost that voice in her life, and now she heard it again. And she started building a business. She launched a product. She started making money. And it was kind of this moment. She had this aha moment of like this thing her mom used to say about her, if you'll be CEO one day, she had now realized, and she's like very much in process. She's not there yet as far as like retiring from her job, but who she became in the process was so powerful. She built so much confidence in herself. She actually got a promotion at work. Right.
Hmm.
And like, again, that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is she wants to retire out of that thing, but she got a promotion at work into something that she loves. She actually is valued in, because of she did this inner work. And I think that's just a
Hmm.
powerful story of not a mom who made millions yet, but a mom who was willing to transform, and heal, and just kind of
Hmm.
talk about the hard stuff, and lean into the mindset, which is not always like the sexiest thing to lean into, but it
It
changed
is
her life.
not. It is not. And I think people have a wrong idea about what mindset means. Like, this has been studied. There is enough support, scientific support. If you're more into science than you are into the woo-woo approach, there is
Yeah.
plenty of science behind it. Like, we're in 2025. So just go spend some time, use ChatGPT if you want to find some really good resources, but you're going to find plenty of scientific research, peer studies, peer reviews, all that stuff supporting how mindset can shape everything we do, how we think, how we operate. Even if you just look at heuristics and biases for the
Yeah.
human brain, you're going to find that there is something called confirmation bias. So, going back to what you said before, if you believe you can't, your brain is going to find any possible opportunity to
Yeah.
confirm your bias that you cannot. And if your brain thinks you cannot, you think you're going to accomplish it. And again, it's not just thinking you can, but I think the way you frame it is, how can I? Because just thinking you can, it's normally not enough. You need to think about, okay, I believe I can, but how can I make that happen? How can I be more solution oriented? Because most people are so connected to negativity and wires to think about problems and not solutions. They get stuck in that mindset that changes your complete reality. Your reality becomes
Yeah,
a problem, and
so true.
you don't want to be living that reality. Last one for you. What's the most overlooked principle of scaling?
Most overlooked principle of scaling. Hmm. I would say accountability. This is something that we're growing in, but I think a lot of times when people scale, they lose quality, you know, and you guys helped us build some insane tracking dashboards. That stuff has been so crazy. Like, I show that to other people in the industry, and it's like nobody's doing this. They're just
Mhm.
focused on scaling. They're not focused on quality. And so, creating a quality control system in all departments where you know that, like, even if you have 3, 4, 5 levels in your business, right, where there's like managers and, you know, people managers, right? You know, at the very lowest level, right, of the company, like, there's things being done with excellence, right? And you have a quality control system. So that took us a long time to build, and we're still growing in that area. But that's one of the keys to being able to release control so that the thing can really scale without things breaking and fires happening all the time. So I'd say that's definitely one that's overlooked.
I love quality control because I'm a true believer that we can trust, but we need to verify. And that's something I stand for. And I learned that from my engineering days, doing engineering for 10 years, and looking and learning how Toyota did their whole system, which is all about quality control and giving people a framework on how to make decisions and stop the assembly line. If they need to stop the assembly line to see there is a defect, there is something that is broken, let's fix it, instead of ending this whole line of production with 100
Yeah.
broken cars that need to go back and be fixed. No, let's stop it now. Let's take a little bit longer here. Let's fix the whole process, but then we know it's going to be like predictable and repeatable and very much sustainable over time. If
Yeah.
there was only one lesson for our listeners to remember after today's episode, what would that be?
One of my core lessons, I kind of snuck it in there, you know, already, but it's, you know, I'm actually quoting Jesus on this one. And he says, "He that has will have more in abundance. He that has not, even that will be taken away." So focus on what you have and it'll multiply. Focus on what you have not and it will dwindle. And that's how I say it. But that one thing applied to any area of your life: relationships,
Mhm.
health, wealth, time, resources, and um, it'll multiply. And it's so easy to, you know, like just like a 30-second story. You know, my son, um, I kind of, this was highlighted to me when we were, it was like after Halloween, we had some like candy in the house, right? And you know, it was like morning time. Me and him have special morning times, and he comes out and he spots like the gummy bears, right? I left him out on the counter, a little pack, and he's like, "Oh, can I have a gummy bear?" He's probably like 2 years old at the time, you know. And I'm like, "Okay, bud, like, yeah, sure, you can have a gummy bear for breakfast, whatever." Like, and I was just like, "You can have one, right? You can have one gummy bear." And so I let him choose his favorite color, and he gets his gummy bear, and he like puts it in his mouth. It's like complete joy, right? And then I start to take the gummy bears away, right, to put them away. I tell him he can have one, and as soon as he sees that thing leaving, he he starts freaking out, right? And this is just like our nature to focus on what we don't have. So I'm taking the gummy bears away, and he's like chewing this delicious gummy bear, and he's missing it. He's now looking at what he doesn't have, and it's robbing him of the experience he's having, you know. And that story, like, I share that, like, no, nothing against my son. That's totally like our natural human tendency, but it highlighted something for me, you know. And I remember that because sometimes that's how we are. Like, we just focus on what we don't have, we throw a fit, and it robs us of what we actually have. But when you focus on the thing that's in your hand right now, the thing that like you are in front of to steward and multiply right now, that's where it starts to grow and multiply, and you see miracles happen. we got to get out of thinking like, I don't have this. I don't have this. It's not true, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes when you focus on the thing you have, it multiplies,
And you get what you want anyways,
Yeah.
just because you're not overly attached to this kind of hypothetical goal or idea or identity. And it is
Yeah.
exactly how we started today. Stephen, if people want to know more about you, about what you guys do, what would be the easiest way for them to find you guys and connect with you guys?
Yeah, business is the Rainmaker Family. So rainmakerfamily.com. We have a podcast as well, the Rainmaker Family Show. And then if you want to hear more about scaling from 7 to 8 figures, my personal Instagram is honestly where I've been posting a lot of that content, because Rainmaker Family is going to be more about e-com and Amazon and moms in business. But I share a lot of insights on my personal Instagram, which is at Steez Diaz. Okay. STEEZDIAZ.
I will make sure I link as many links as I can so that people can easily find you guys. And has been an amazing episode. Stephen, has been amazing to be connected with you guys, partner up with you guys in the past, doing all the building together. And I think if there is a key lesson for me, is how shifting this mindset from lack to abundance and being able to look at what you have and unlocking the opportunities that are just in front of you if you give them enough time and attention for them to knock on the door, and so that you can hear that they're knocking on the door so that you can grow into the next level. And it was a lovely episode. I hope you guys had a great time like I did hanging with Stephen today. I want to hope you have like a fulfilled life and a fulfilled day, and I will see you in the next episode. Stephen, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, man. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Ethical Scaling Podcast, The Masters of the Game. But before you go, remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode packed with juicy insights and a sprinkle of laughter. If you enjoyed today's show and want to spread the love, leave us a review and share this podcast with your fellow business mavens. Together, we can create a ripple effect of ethical growth and impact that reverberates throughout the digital cosmos. Until next time, keep scaling ethically, keep dreaming big, and never forget to find joy in the journey. This was Jay and Ben signing off with a wink and a smile. Catch you on the flip side.